And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 43 of the Sling'N podcast. I'm TJ.
And I'm Kent.
And joining us tonight is a very special guest, the one and only weapon snatcher of Seattle, Shooter Rughi. Shooter, welcome to the show, brother.
How you doing? Glad to be here.
Yeah, man, we're happy to have you. So, one and only weapon snatcher of Seattle. And someone didn't mute. Yeah, Kent, way to go. God, we can't have anything nice. So, Rughi, my brother, we like to kind of start out the episode with asking our guests who the hell they are. So why don't you take an opportunity to tell the folks at home and those listening on the podcast, exactly who you are, when you're not out running and gunning and doing your thing. Who is Shooter Rughi?
Oh, man. Well, I'm always trying to run and gun and shoot and do that. That's what I like to do. That's my passion. Honestly, that's really what my whole life is around is firearms. I am trying to build everything around that. My wife and I are working together, close friends of mine that are, we were all Marines together. We're like family. We're trying to build that. I just got back from the dog park, love taking the dog out, doing that kind of stuff. It's outdoors, whatever I can do here in the Pacific Northwest is what I try to do. I'm a huge nerd. I read a lot. I get into that, and honestly, I would definitely say that has an influence on my mindset on a lot of different things and how I go into situations. I was a Marine. I joined the Marine Corps, became an infantryman, and when I got out of there as a marksmanship instructor, I went overseas to Kuwait, Afghanistan, and Iraq, doing everything from security to firearms instructing. And got back in January, and what do you know it? The world's trying to end. So,
yeah, you decided you came back in 2020. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, my 2020 started in Baghdad at the embassy when everything was, going aflame from the rioters and protesters there.
Oh, fun. So you just came home for more protesters.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm seeing a recurring theme, brother. I really am. So again, formally, welcome to the show. We are absolutely thrilled to have you. So for those that are not aware, allow me to paint the picture for you. I'll set the scene, if you will. So there he was, no bullshit, in Seattle, and all hell is breaking loose. Riots, raining blood, dogs and cats sleeping together, mass hysteria, as they say. So, Shooter, why don't you explain, or at least continue that line on exactly the events that led to your infamy, dare I say?
So the plague had just hit back in the day, and the locusts were swarming in. To paint the picture, I mean, I was standing on a corner with my news crew. I was hired to do security for them, and we were about 3 to 4 blocks deep into the center of the riot and the protest, and we were dead in the heart of it. And in the heart of it, there were police vehicles that were staged there as a fallback position in case officers needed to get there. And it just turned out that was where the middle of it became, the worst of it became. And there were, in short, 2 specific individuals that stole police ARs from the vehicles that they were destroying and lighting on fire. And I decided I wanted to take their guns from them that didn't belong to them because I like guns. So I walked up and I took them both at gunpoint and got control of the situation as far as I could, and I made my way out of there, disassembling those weapons and going back to protect my team. And then I made my way about 3.5, 4 blocks with my pistol at the high ready for anyone challenging me, because I had a whole mob on me and my crew after that, and finally got those firearms returned to those police officers that needed them, and I returned to work. Went and changed up my clothes and my look and returned to work with my news crew.
Outstanding. So for those of you that have not yet seen the video, it is all over social media. There are countless copies of it floating around on YouTube right now. Just simply search Weapon Snatcher of Seattle, and you will almost certainly come across it. I got to tell you, man, it's just an absolute glorious video. So luckily, and we do have to be serious here for a second. Luckily, nobody from, obviously yourself and the crew that you were providing security for and nobody that you had to face while you did return those firearms to the police department in the midst of those riots were hurt by your actions or the actions of anybody in your immediate vicinity. I'm sure, of course, there were some injuries, but I think as far as your situation pertains, the sphere of influence, everybody was A-okay. Is that correct?
Yeah, there was the first rifle I took was fired several times into a vehicle. But because that rifle had come up, everyone just took off down the street and basically gave them a way to shoot where no one was going to get hurt. But yeah, and everything I had to deal with that day, no one was hurt. My crew wasn't hurt. I wasn't. And I didn't have to hurt anyone, and that was always a good thing. So it's probably about the best thing that came out of that day.
No, man, that you're absolutely correct. And so I'm curious with respect to your training. Obviously, you seem to know what you're doing. You admitted in the beginning of the show that firearms and running and gunning are kind of your passion, your livelihood. Being a former Marine and any of the other training that you took up to that point, was there any type of training or a particular class that you might have attended that you drew upon the skills from, or was it kind of an amalgamation of all the classes you've taken?
Boot camp.
I mean, what the hell, folks?
I'm the only non-service member in the group right now, but that's a very Marine answer, isn't it?
Yeah.
On the dotted line. Tell them, hey, I want to do something bigger with myself, and yeah, boot camp. The boot camp, and then follow-on schools like School of Infantry. There you go. Get yourself an 0300 contract, because it's violence of action. It's making a decision and committing to that decision, and it's aggression that can turn on and off like a switch when you need it. And it's command presence. And these are all terms that are from the Marine Corps, infantry, boot camp, it's all these things. And it's drilled into you. It's honed into you. And some people don't get it. Some people do. Some people get it too much. But I mean, other than that, like, I didn't feel like I had no control of the whole situation the whole time. I have been working on ranges for quite a while. I have worked with a lot of shooters, and I can look at someone with a firearm and I know if they know what they're doing or not by the way they're handling it. These guys did not know what they were doing. I have taken plenty of rifles from people that were unsafe and did not know what they were doing. This was just a little different, honestly. And to me, it was something that, I mean, I wouldn't say it was natural. It was just something I had done before in a different circumstance. So,
right. So the rules of the game might have changed, but the game itself did not.
Yeah. And the only thing that was different now was these were the real threat that were meaning to be a threat. And I escalated further than they did and de-escalated their threat. So.
Yeah, and Kent, we'll kick it over to you here in a second. So for those of you that are playing the home game, if you have not yet or cannot, would not, whatever the case might be, join the service and gone through boot camp, basic training, and the like, except for the Coast Guard, they're not real. But say I got your back, buddy.
There was an active duty Coast Guardsman, and he was one of the only two there that actually helped me out.
Okay, fair enough. Mad props to that guy. Probably a reservist.
He said he was active duty, so
we got love for all of our guys, but if you got a Marine and an Army dude here, we're gonna bust on you. But with that being said, for those of you playing the home game, these are concepts that are actually covered in Colonel Jeff Cooper's book, The Principles of Self-Defense. This is a perfect manifestation of those very principles. It just so happens that the Marine Corps and the Army like to beat it into our heads. We could have just read a book. That would have been nice. But so Kent, let's kick it over to you, buddy. I know you've got some burning questions for our guest.
Well, I just want to – one of the things I want to ask you that I haven't heard you answer yet, and that doesn't mean you haven't, because I'm sure you've been interviewed by, well, fucking everybody at this point, right? I'd like to draw a parallel between your news crew, the people that you were in charge of, their care and protection, and the rest of our audience and their family members, right? Like, if you're the gun guy or the skills guy or the med guy or whoever in your group, you kind of are the security detail for the people that you love and that are around you. And My question for you is, if you remove the news crew and you put in mom, wife, sister, daughter, brother, whoever it is in your life that you love, would you have taken the same action? Would you have made the same choices?
I wouldn't have been there. I wouldn't have let him be there.
Yep. See, there you go. So you would have.
It's a stupid decision. I have no reason to be there otherwise.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that were there, and a lot of them that have hit me up. So I know this for a fact. They were literally there to take pictures, to take videos, to post it on their social, just to go see what was happening. And in my point of view, regardless of the cool photos they got, one of them was a guy that he got the cool ones of me, and that's awesome. And I've been in contact with him since. But honestly, there's no other reason to be there besides what these rioters were trying to do. If you're trying to protest, then protest peacefully. But those rioters were not there to protest. They were there to cause mayhem. And if like my wife said, hey, I want to go down there and check it out, I told her flat out, no way in hell we're going down there, and you're certainly not either. Like, it's stupid. There's no sense in it.
That is a quality answer, although it doesn't serve the training parallel I was trying to draw, right?
I'm sorry, man.
No, it's fine, dude, because that is the truth. That's the honest to God truth. You're absolutely correct.
I have a reason to go to a dog park. I just got back from one, right? We got a dog. I went there and I was carrying concealed. Especially now, I make sure to do so even more so because my face is out there. And the area I live in, people aren't friendly with firearms. But the fact of the matter is, I don't know what parallel you're trying to draw, but
I guess I was thinking if you were in a circumstance like that with your family, as opposed to a news crew that you had to protect, would you have made the choice to close with and remove the weapons, or would you have made the choice to get them the? Yeah, okay, so that's where I was going.
Absolutely, because I'm not going to say it's the same because it's not. It's family, but the same line of thought would have happened is I need to take care of my family. But I also have a duty within myself and my morals and my integrity to take care of a situation that can turn hostile. Because if it turns hostile and I'm in the area and I can do something about it and I didn't, that's not something I'm ever okay with. And I've made sure that through, I want to say, mental training and making sure I make the decisions I want, like act, something happens, act. I'm not thinking about it. I'm doing it. Regardless of what it is, that's the reflex. It's not, oh shit, what am I going to do? Here's my hesitation. Oh God, no. It's no, I'm already on the way.
Yep. Makes sense. What was the, we've seen more of one video, but there were two rifles. What was the reaction of the first individual who had already demonstrated, his willingness to inflict deadly harm on those around it by firing a gun? Whether he thought through that or not, we'll never know. Did you meet with any resistance from this guy, or did he just?
No, man. I surprised him more than the guy you saw a video of.
Right.
He ducked into a clove, a doorway to a Starbucks. That's what it was. And I came up on him from behind and around the corner. He didn't know I was there until I was like right there. And then my voice drew his attention, and then I came up with my pistol, and he had less time to react than the other dude.
Yeah, so he's drawn from the drop at that point. You had the drop on him.
Oh yeah, I had the drop on both of them. I mean,
so commands to the shitbag, something like "Give me the gun" or
"Drop the weapon, drop the weapon, drop the weapon."
Right, and obviously didn't drop the weapon, right? But limp dish rag kind of thing.
The first guy, when I came up on him, he was facing down and away from me, and he had the rifle by the grip, the pistol grip in one hand, and muzzle was down. And he looked like he was fucking with it, like he was trying to figure out what to do. And when I came up and saying, drop the weapon, he turned and looked up at me, and the rifle stayed where it was, and he didn't drop it. So I did the same thing. I snatched it from him, and I grabbed it in the same place, right above the pistol grip on the buffer tube, and I ripped it away from him, and I told him to get the fuck out of here.
Gotcha. So No need to escalate to lethal. He didn't swing in with the gun. He didn't reach for the safety. He didn't nothing like that. Just
nope.
And the news crew, you had stationed them somewhere else, somewhere outside of, or not outside of harm's way, but as far outside and away from the situation as you could. So you were moving solo both times, right?
Yeah. I was there doing security by myself. We were around a corner, and I tucked them into a doorway, and I basically said, "Stay the fuck right here." I needed to make sure they didn't move because that was a variable I needed to control. And if I came back and they weren't there, that's another problem I need to solve. So
now, was that something you worked out with them ahead of time? Was that like part of your game?
When I met up with them, I kicked them a little brief, like, "Hey, this is me. This is you. What's your experience? Here's my experience. What do you expect from me? This is what I expect from you." Okay. So like we laid it out like this is this and this is that. So I'm going to help you do your job to the best possible ability I can, keeping you safe. And, if I can help you find good shots or do something like that, I'm going to do that. But if something happens, you need to listen to me. Now it's my show. And that's what happened. It was a good thing we went over that. And that's what I make sure to do every time I go out with a new team or doing a new job or something like that.
Right. No, I think that's vitally important. That cross communication is something we preach here on the show. A lot of people that are listening to this, either currently or going to be listening to this into the future, are probably some of those millions of first time gun owners in the country right now. And we tell it, we preach it here. Have a game plan with your family because everybody goes through the same scenario in their head. What if somebody breaks into my house? What if my wife gets mugged? These are things that it's the what ifs that we all ask ourselves when we first decide to strap on a gun and defend ourselves and our loved ones. That communication and that planning with those variables, as Shooter said, is absolutely true in all circumstances.
I agree.
Even if you're home alone, if you've got animals, something like that, these are all variables that you need to take into account. And a proper plan at the beginning is going to save you pounds of pain in the future.
Exactly. It's one of the first things I tell people when they ask me, "Hey, what's a good a good home defense round or gun or whatever?" It's like, and they want to. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this, that they want a home defense gun that they can hunt with. Well, you don't want to do that. I mean, over penetration. You want to think about who is in that next room, where are they, who's in that next house. You got to think about these things because you don't want that round traveling too far at all. And it's just, and I don't fault them, right? It's something they don't know, they don't consider. It's just like all they're thinking is, this is what I want. Okay, they want to get one thing that does these things. Well, each thing does things a little different, right? And it's trying to honestly educate and figure out, let them know, walk them through it, teach them the process as it goes. And that's what I'm trying to do, is bring that education forth to everybody on a platform that they can all connect with. Because, I'm a normal dude. I was a Marine and I was a contractor overseas and firearms instructor, but dude, I'm average as fuck. And that's what I'm trying to do. So.
No, that's certainly admirable. So we are getting a couple of questions in the chat. So our shout out over to our friends at Apache Solutions for tuning in. As always, we love you guys. So Apache Frank asks, was it against the law for you to even have your concealed carry while attending the protest or the riot? Was there any type of special stipulations, or were you authorized to do so if it was illegal as part of your duties as a security contractor?
Okay, so that's actually a really good question. Again, it goes with what I just said about education. Some of the biggest things that people need educated on is their local municipality and their state laws and federal laws. It was not illegal for me in any way whatsoever, regardless of my my private investigator's license and armed guard license at all. I could have been a responsibly armed citizen there with my pistol, concealed carry, and done the same thing. So once they got a hold of those firearms, once they stole those police firearms, they were in the commission of a felony. Right? And once they got a hold of those firearms, they are now considered a deadly threat in the escalation of force laws. I was legally allowed to end that threat. I chose a different path that I was able to take based on my own morals and my mindset and my framework I put going into that day. But I was legally allowed to carry as a private citizen. I was legally allowed to carry as a private investigator, and I was legally allowed to stop the threat with any means necessary at that point. So that's a really good question.
Yeah, it's not something that a lot of people do take into account. So, Frank, Frank, thank you for the question. I am curious though, because I mean, we obviously we see the video, you know, we kind of catch the events as it happens. But I've been curious: was all hell breaking loose by the time you guys got there, or was it still kind of like a simmering protest escalating?
It was escalating. I mean, I had been there maybe 40 to 40 minutes when that happened. But when I got there, it was protest and it was simmering. And I told my team, I was like, you can feel the tension. It's building up right now. And in any crowd, or when you just see two dudes going at it, right? Very rarely do they just start throwing. You know, they're building and working themselves up. It's the same thing in a crowd, and you can feel that tension. And then we left the protest and we walked around a block, or the protest. We left where we were in the protest and we walked around a couple blocks and ended up putting it right in the middle. And on that side of it, they were busted into these vehicles, and then later on they torched them, and rounds that were in those vehicles were heating up and popping off. They're just cooking off in there.
Yeah, so something I'm curious about. So for those of us that, you know, maybe have not been in a chaotic situation, you know, combat zone, anything like that, I'm pretty sure everybody can understand and empathize with the idea of rising tensions. You know, the tension in the air is so thick, you know, you can cut it with a knife, and so, as the saying goes. Were there any type of, aside from that kind of guttural instinct that you had, was there any type of maybe visual or audible indicators that things were starting to get hairy?
There were people in black sweatshirts, black bandanas, black pants, black backpacks, black face masks, and they were beating vehicles. They were looting. They were destroying buildings. They were setting another vehicle on fire before they pulled the rifles. They were taking bats to them. They were doing whatever they could. I mean, think of an indication, and it was there. I promise you.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. And it was very much the feeling going into that was, it was very much like, I'm going to Seattle. I've been there plenty of times recreationally, to go down to Pike's Place and hang out, you know, where the fish, and go to the gum wall, and see the Space Needle, all these world famous things. That's not what it was that day. I was going into a hostile zone. And one of the things I had to keep in mind that I made sure to pound into my brain on the hour-plus drive there is, I'm going to be surrounded by people I don't agree with. I'm going to see, hear, and experience things I don't agree with that I'm going to want to step in. But I have to rein myself in, and I can only step in when it hits this line, or this line. And commission of a crime, looting, something like that, that doesn't matter right now. Right? So some of these things in these situations, it doesn't necessarily go out the window, but it's not the priority. You have to prioritize. And my priority became, get these guns from these guys that are stealing them and could do far worse.
Gotcha. Kent, what else you got?
Yeah, so that's a good segue into, you're talking about mental preparation, right? And people every day, concealed carriers, students of ours, trainers, whatever. It's easy to talk about this shit, right? It's easy to write in a book. It's easy to give a mindset lecture in a gun class. It is not easy to drive an hour knowing that you're going into shit by yourself, and even drive the whole hour. I mean, how many people would have been like, you know, F this, I'm out. I'm not doing this, let alone doing it with a predetermined ROE, if you will. You had already lined out in your mind what you would and would not tolerate, what you would not put up with, and where you would or would not intervene, which is certainly commendable. Let me ask you this: what were you physically prepared to deal with? What equipment did you have, you know, besides a G19 and a bad attitude, right? Like,
I had a good attitude. I was positive.
Did you have med? Did you have I mean, whatever, you know, I don't want to ask you proprietary stuff about how you're
No, there's nothing proprietary about it, man. All the things I went into that day, I think is common sense. That's the thing I think is part of this gap that I mentioned that I'm trying to bridge, right? So it's common sense stuff. If I take on the responsibility to carry concealed, in my point of view, I've also taken on the responsibility to have medical training and carry medical equipment with me. I have a full trauma kit in my car, right? So I went into that day. I had 2 IFACs. That, for people that don't know, that's individual first aid kit. So that carries everything that I might need for me. That's taking care of me. Now I had 2, so I had one for anyone else if something came up. Now I also had I had 3 sets of zip cuffs if I needed them. I had baby wipes. I had a schmog, and that schmog can be used for like a million different things. One from a mask. It could be used as a tourniquet. It can be used as an arm wrap. Anything. I had baby wipes. Baby wipes are great for every reason. One reason that I used them that day, I had CS gas. We got gas multiple times, and it will take it right out of your eyes. Excuse me. I had a pistol in my bag. I had several extra, magazines, and with obviously loaded with ammo. I had a notepad, pen. I had a lockpick set that I have some experience with. I had my phone. My phone is a big one that people underestimate. Honestly, people really do underestimate what they can do with their phone. I had multiple things that I needed that I could go into that day. I had a sandwich, right? I had water, because I knew I was going to be out there for a while. What I did also have stays in the vehicle. I had another jacket in case I needed to switch out, which I very much needed to later on. I had another mask that I could switch into. Underneath my hoodie, I had clothes that I could change in different layers on a fly if I need to change my look even further. And these were all things I went into that day. Like when I got the call, hey, we need you to work, that I had thought of it the day prior and got ready, and I set my bag and everything. And on the way into town, you mentioned driving alone for an hour by myself. A lot of people say, fuck that. Well, I would hope they wouldn't, right? Especially if they got a job to do. But what I did is I put my phone on my passenger seat on YouTube, and I played all the most current news on what was going on in the city. So I was as up to date as I could be. And I was hearing, so I knew the chants going into it. I knew what they were rioting about, what they were protesting about. I knew the previous day's tensions and night and what was going on. But it also gave me the locations of all the protests that were going to go on that day and what times they were going to start. And with that, me and my team that were out there with other crews, we were in group chats feeding each other information the whole time. So, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, but it's all common sense stuff. It's still the who, what, when, where, why, and how that you want to know going in anything.
Very cool. You made the decision. I'm gonna steal just a little from Gunfighter Cast because I listened to that one in depth. Daniel's been awesome forever. Shout out Gunfighter Cast. You made the decision, and you talked about it in that show, to carry off body intentionally. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah. So the only other protest I've ever been in was in Rome, and my wife and I stumbled. There we go. Sorry, that was bothering me. My wife, if that's too bad, let me know.
No, we got you.
Stumbled into that completely on accident, which I don't know how you stumble into a protest with several 100,000, but that's what happened. So I knew how tightly packed it could be, even in a large area. And my mindset was, I'm trying to be as gray man as possible. I don't want to be bumping into people, and then they think, what did I just feel on that guy? What was that super hard thing? So what I did is I carried my pistol in my bag because it prints more, but I kept I had 2 magazines carriers on my hip because it prints less. And if I've already made the decision to get my pistol out, I'm probably going to take cover when I do it, which I didn't have to at that time because that guy had taken his own cover so I could move on him. So that's the decision I made because I didn't want people feeling it. I didn't want a scuffle to happen or anything like that and someone pull it if I had a holster on my hip or anything. So that's why I decided to carry in a bag. So it was a lot more incognito.
Makes sense. Were you able to, was it like some kind of Vertex or sling bag that you were able to access the gun pretty quick? Not actually Vertex, you know what I mean?
It was Vertex.
See? There you go.
Yeah, so there's a Vertex commuter, which discount code Weapon Smasher 25% off.
There you go.
Yeah, it was a Vertex commuter sling bag, and I actually got it while I was in Iraq, and it was the best bag for that day. It had I had a plate. I had a plate in there too. But I mean, it was super easy to sling around, right? That's the whole point of it, and that's one reason why I chose it. And it worked. It worked very well. It kills the shoulder after like a 12-hour day with the weight in there, but at least I had what I needed and I could get to it quickly. So that's why I chose it.
I'm
So
going to be for a minute and ask you what kind of sandwich you brought with you. I know you haven't been asked that yet.
I haven't, and you know what? It means a lot to me that you asked. It was a peanut butter and jelly sandwich made by my wife.
Amen. Amen. America.
Strawberry jelly too.
Oh my goodness. See?
Man after my own heart.
I love it.
So we are getting a couple more questions in the chat. First one I want to address is from our dear friend Sarah Albrecht, founder of holdmyguns.org. All of you that are listening, please go over and check that out. But she asked, was there anything that you did not have that you wish you would have taken with you?
Ooh, yeah. Another sandwich. I got hungry later.
Love this.
Yeah, I wish I had at the time I didn't have one, a super lightweight rain jacket that I could easily pack in my bag, because it was pissing rain that entire day. There was, you know what, there was something that day that I was just thinking I really wish I had. I just can't remember what it was. I wish I had a better way of communication besides texting or calling. I wanted an earpiece or something that was directly linked to the guy, something like that. But I can think of a lot of like tactical type stuff that would have been nice to have. But honestly, down to the bare bones, I really had everything I needed. So I couldn't really give you that answer because I mean, besides getting hungry, I needed to go. There's nowhere to go to the bathroom in a city that's going on like that when you're trying to be the good guy. So that sucked. But
Yeah.
but I really couldn't tell you. That's a good question though, and I'm probably going to be thinking about that for a little while now.
I like it. Good. Well, it made you think. So let's for a minute talk about. So awesome. We did the Superman shit, right? We got the rifles. Now what? Right? So now you got these two rifles. You did some rickety, rackety, clickety, clackety, and took some parts out of them. Good call. Makes sense. What the hell is it like walking up to police officers in the middle of a kind of sort of war zone with their own equipment and being like, yo, you dropped this, or yo, this is yours, right? Like,
I'm going to give you an answer, and then I'll give you the explanation.
Sure.
It's super fucking easy.
Okay.
Yeah. People highly underestimate. So this is what happened. When I finally got a bead on where the cops were, because it was about 3.5, 4 blocks away, it took a while to get there. The only way I got there was Zachariah Bean. He's the one that took a real cool photo of me in the middle of the street. I ended up finding out later because he contacted me on Instagram that he was the dude with the American flag that was helping me out. I got to a point where I was like, look, man, if I'm going the wrong way, it doesn't help me at all. Can you run up a block and find out where these guys are? And I'm going to hold my team here. So I did. So that's what he did. And he came back. He's like, yes, they're this way. So I got about a half a block away, maybe a little more. And the mobs that was after us or after me really stopped following. And I put my Glock back in my pocket because I had it up here the whole time. And I unslung the rifles and I popped the rear pins so that I hooked them essentially. I'll show you nice and accurate wise because a lot of people keep asking me what I mean when I explain this. New rifle's a little stiff. All right, so I took their rifles and I did this, both of them, just like that, right? So I had one right next to the other. These weren't even in there. They were in my back pocket, and I put my Glock in my pocket, and I had my hand up. And at first the cop was like, wait. And I told him, like, no, sir, you need to take these. These are yours. And I was really loud, I was really clear, and I was really concise. And when he realized, like, there's no threat here. Like, I'm not doing anything threatening. My hands are open, my fingers are wide, everything. He came walking up, and I basically just explained to him, like, hey, these are 2 police firearms I confiscated off of some rioters that they stole out of the 2 of your vehicles a couple blocks away. And another police officer came up, and I handed him the rifles. And I took the bolt carrier grips and charging handles out of my back pocket, and I put them in their hand, and I said, these are yours. You need to take these. I need to go. And I turned around and ran off back into the riot.
Fair enough.
I've been able to show because I had my rifle. I did.
Fair enough. So no long drawn out conversations. No.
It maybe lasted 20 seconds.
Right. Awesome. Yeah. Well, that worked out good. What? It sounds like there was some expanse of time. And I mean, like, tachypsychia is a thing, right? So it probably felt like 11 hours, but it's probably only several minutes or whatever between the time you took the guns and the time you got them back out of your hands.
From the time from the first rifle to the second rifle snatching, it could not have been more than 8 minutes, but no less than 5. Right? Okay. There was a lot going on, but by the time I got the rifles back to the police, it might have been about 40 to 45 minutes.
Okay, so you were the target and maybe one of the primary focuses of a bunch of dirtbags for 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
Yeah, they were all on me.
On you in what sense? Physically, 2 feet, 3 feet, 6 feet. I mean, what are we talking?
I think maybe the closest one that got to me that I deemed as a threat, because there were people just milling about. I think the threatening ones I would kept away further because I was more verbally aggressive and I put more violent presence out there towards them. Maybe 5, 6, 7 feet away. But like I said, I had my pistol right here the whole time, and muzzle down. I wasn't flagging anybody, And if they came near me, my first thing was, because I had both rifles strapped, I put my hand up, like, use very colorful words.
Right. So how many of that group, however big that group was, how many of them rose to the level of, like, oh, this dude might be a problem?
That I might be a problem?
No.
They might be a problem?
You're looking at 60 idiots, let's say. How many of them were you like that?
A physical problem, there might have been like 3 or 4, and I only think of that because their size, they were bigger than me, and and that stuck out. And then it's like a lot of people are just saying stuff, right? So during all this, I'm filtering out what I don't need versus what I need to pay attention to, and so there's a lot going on with cognitive processing at that time, and I would say, like, some of them definitely tried to start stepping up to me, and I turned and locked on them with my pistol, muzzle down, but facing in their direction. So the next thing that's happened is I'm up and going. But none of them stepped up to me. Not like where it became I needed to select them to put pressure on.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about threat indicators. So you just talked about physical size, right? You're looking at him and you're like, oh, homeboy's a big dude. That guy could do some stuff, right? That could be a problem. What other visual or verbal or nonverbal cues? Yep, hands. What are they doing? Yep,
hands and eyes. Are they looking at me like I'm looking at them?
Right.
Right. So the sheep and the wolf, they act the same, but they look the same, but they act differently. So I'm paying attention to who's stepping up to me, who's getting closer, what I'm looking for is essentially the feeling that I felt and warned my team about. Who's working themselves up, You know, who's working up the courage or the stupidity to do something right now? And where are their hands? What's in their hands? Because that also doesn't just determine what are they going to do. That determines what can I do, because that's escalation of force. Sure, I took rifles from 2 guys. But they had rifles. That doesn't mean I'm already in a situation that I can take them down. So far, they're just stepping up to me. But now I thought about that for a split second while I was making moves to get to the police. Like, does this mean I need to put my pistol away right now? And I made the decision no, because I have too many people on me right now, right? So lethal threat isn't just what are they doing, it's how many people are coming after me. That's a lethal threat.
Yep, disparaging.
Hands on me. If no one has a knife, it doesn't matter. There's way more of them than me.
Yeah, disparaging force is a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious about this. So we do one follow-up question from your engagement with law enforcement once you've returned the rifles. Was there any follow-up interviews or like questioning or anything? Like the cops, did they call you back in or any? Obviously they knew who you were by now. You know, has all that been going okay?
Yeah, all of it went fine. I was outside one of the precincts later that night, and I told them, "Hey, man." I let them know because I knew I was going to have to give a statement. I was like, "Hey, I'm the guy," and they had already heard. "I'm the guy who got you guys back the rifles. Let me give you a statement real quick." So I gave them a statement that night. I had to do an over-the-phone statement like a week or so later. Yeah, they were nothing but grateful and thankful. You know, they were very appreciative. It was a little bit of a hairy time. You know, am I going to be charged? Am I not going to be charged? Well, I was on the right side of the law. It probably would have turned out differently just because the state of things in our country these days with guys trying to do good things, they normally get hammered now. And that pisses me off. But at least I was able to, for my own sake and my family's sake, make the decision I made, and it came out good.
Have you had any follow-up threats or any nonsense?
There was a dude, he's a barber from New Jersey. He sent me a message. "I will murder you." So we called him. He had his phone number on his bio, so we called him. He hung up.
Fair enough.
Everybody wants to be a gangster, so it's time to do gangster shit.
Yeah. Other than like a few random stupid little haters that didn't know what was going on or didn't know what was happening, it's been like 99.999% positivity, and it's been awesome. And I'm trying to, if anyone's watching this and you've messaged me, I'm getting there. There are thousands of DMs, and it takes a very long time for one guy to get through. So I will get there. Just give me some grace.
Yeah, you've certainly been gracious with your time with us, right? I mean, you got back to us, and we got this squared away. It was nice of you to do that, and I'm glad to hear most of it positive. It's nice to see that things go the right way sometimes, right? Like you said, there's a lot of dumb that happens, and the good guy does the right thing, or the perceived good guy does the right thing, and still takes a shitty fall for it anyway. So, you know, blessings to your family and all that. I'm glad that nobody's the worst for it.
Yeah, thank you.
An opportunity though, and in the realm and theme of positivity, let's talk positivity. So, like any young guy who's being smart and trying to take better care of his family, you're going to launch a business.
Yeah. Bang bags. So it's an idea I've actually been sitting on for several years, but it just kind of got to the point where I'm at rock bottom. Might as well try to start somewhere. No better time than at the bottom. I started working towards it 3 days prior to this whole craziness, and I got my business license. The website should be up by the end of this month. Branding and logo making and stylescapes and all these things I never knew about. They take some time. But I've built a bag for precision rifle shooters that I think fills a lot of holes that are not currently there, especially for the tactical world. And I have a goal for them, a benchmark, if you will, that I hope to reach. And they should be out hopefully by the end of this month as well. I mean, it takes some time to make these things, especially with the way the industry is right now, which is slammed everywhere, from ammunition to gun parts. You know, it's just busy. So that's what I'm doing, and I have T-shirts, hoodies, and stickers and patches being sold to help support that endeavor, as well as a GoFundMe that I have up to try to support that endeavor. And I think I'm going to keep it going for about another week before I go ahead and shut it down.
Well, hit us with the information for that GoFundMe. Let's get it out on the air. Let's get it in the description. Let's help you out a little bit, man. So go ahead. Don't be shy. What's the links? What do people need to go do if they want to buy some cool patches or whatever and support you? Shout it out, man.
So in my Instagram bio, you'll find the link to Osak Apparel. That's for the hoodies and T-shirts. And I'm working on getting all this filtered into one page, so I apologize. That's where you'll find the, like I said, hoodies, T-shirts, and stickers. And then patchops.com, they are selling my patches right now. And it's part of a 4-part series of patches that are being put out, all geared to, help me get this stuff up and running. I'm about to send you the link real quick. And that's what's going on with that. And hopefully I can get all that consolidated into one page by the end of the month.
Awesome. So the bang bags are rest bags for precision shooting. Is that what these are?
Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot out there, but honestly, man, the majority of them are all geared to the competition world. And we can't forget where these type of rifles came from. They came from a tactical use to in defense of our people and our nation. So that's what I'm gearing these towards.
Yeah, somewhere in this country, there is a gentleman in North Carolina whose ears are perking at the sounds of the mention of precision rifles and shooting bags. So specifically, we're talking to a friend of our friend of the show and a personal friend to Kent and I, Cam Hayes, AC494. He's in the chat and he's watching. Cam, shout out to you, buddy. You know we love you. So he asked about Osak. Are you working with One Shot, One Kill?
So the owner and operator of One Shot, One Kill is actually a close personal friend of mine. We've known each other for several years. And I've actually his bag design that he has on his page, I help him design. But when the day after all this happened and he called me up having seen it, he's like, hey, man, I want to build you a logo. I want to, get you hoodies and T-shirts and some swag out. I want to donate the proceeds to help you start your business. Because I had talked to him about it beforehand that, hey, man, I'm going to make this endeavor. This is what I'm working towards. And then he called me up and he offered me that. And I mean, it put me to tears. It was overwhelming. It meant a lot to me that he would do something to that like that. And that's exactly what's been happening. So again, you hear that, man, you already know. I talk to you every day. I appreciate it. So we are currently a little out of stock on things. I'm looking at it right now. But I just posted today that we are working on a restock with new designs as well.
Very cool. So it would seem to me that you're like famous at the moment. What's that been like? How are you enjoying your fame?
I am not a fame seeker or an extroverted person for that kind of thing, man.
No, I know you're not. That's why I could tell, right?
Yeah. It's something I've had to get used to, and right now, and I hate to say this, but it's a necessary evil to do what I need to do. And in some ways, all this capitalizing on a thing that I believe should have been done by anyone that was in the position to do it is very much against my nature. But I keep reminding myself, this is not about me. It's about building something for my family, and I don't care what that means I have to do.
Amen to that, man. We all of us do a lot of things for our family, and everybody's got a job. Everybody's got some things that they have to do that are necessary to provide the things we want. So let me ask you this: You've stayed, it would seem, engaged in training and shooting and all that post-mill life, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Have you had the opportunity to get much training in the civilian sector outside of the mill world, or not yet?
In private contracting, absolutely. I mean, you need to for quite a few of those jobs. This last week, I just got done doing a precision rifle 101 course with Kalen Wojcik over there at Modern Day Sniper. He's here in my state, and he invited me out, and I did a course with him. And this is absolutely a plug. If you haven't, do that course. You will learn. Even a dude that at my level, I came away with 10 plus full pages of notes and diagrams and shit written up that, you know, I either learned in a different way, or explained to me a lot better than I had previously understood, or the little tidbits of the fundamentals that I walked away even understanding more, right? And it's definitely a thing that is hard when you get to a certain level. You want to go to all these courses and still learn. But at a point, it's hard to find those new things to learn. That's always what you're seeking for. And I went there and I learned it good.
I've done good.
Yeah, but like rifle and carbine and pistol, I haven't done anything like that. Not in the civilian sector, not recently. I plan to. It's just, again, timing and opportunity. So,
well, if you ever find yourself on the East Coast, we'll have to make that happen for you, dude. You'd be an honored guest over here. So let's just real quick try to talk about that, 24-hour period after your event. What's rolling through your head? Are you getting sleep? Are you keyed up out of your mind? Are you so inoculated from your previous experiences that this really was just another fucking day at the office?
That sounds like a very cocky thing of me to say, and I wouldn't ever say anything like that. But no, honestly, I got asked in a video with Grand Thumb, what did I feel? And in that situation, I didn't feel shit. Like, I was doing what I felt I needed to do, and I was too busy to worry about feelings. But before I even – what was it before? I'm pretty sure before I turned those rifles back into the police, I was on the phone with one of my brothers, and I told him to keep my wife off the news. I didn't want her seeing the news because I knew it was on there. About 10 minutes after it happened, I got a call from my boss because my phone was vibrating. He's like, you're on the news, right? I told him, I figured. And he's like, that better not be your fucking rifle. And I was like, it's not. And I hung up on him. I was busy. But my phone didn't stop. My phone did not stop for weeks and weeks and weeks. My phone did not stop going off. And that first night when I got home, everyone here at home they were super proud and all that. And I was just like, I honestly just want to sit here and pet the dog. So when I woke up the next morning, things were going crazy. But for weeks, I was getting maybe 3 hours of sleep every 2 nights because I was trying to make sure to push the advantage that I had at the time and build something.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. So again, we're getting more questions in the chat. So Sarah asks, does your wife carry? So while completely respect your desires for any type of privacy, feel free to, we can certainly move on if you like. But if your wife does not carry, or maybe did not carry often, has that kind of changed her attitude about carrying?
She understands why firearms are important. She understands the situations that they are applied in and how they can come better. She knows firearm safety, but she's not the kind of person that's like, I want to go out and shoot. She's not the kind of person where like her priorities are just different. And I have firearms all over the house. She knows that if she needs to, how to handle them and how to use them. And other than that, she just leaves them alone. She doesn't really care, and in large, I'm okay with that. Like, I've had experiences on the far side of, they're all into it and where they hate it. And honestly, someone in the middle is just fine with me. And it doesn't bother me at all. I think that today's day and age, it is more important, but also her work is with kids. So I understand not wanting to carry there, even though it's probably a good idea because you never know what kid's going to wander off into your bags.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, you're preaching to the choir here. So Kent and I certainly share those experiences and certainly can understand that approach that your wife has and the concerns when you've got, young ones running around the house. Yeah, man, you never know. That off-body carry purse is no longer a purse. It's a holster. So we have to be cognizant about
something that you, even when even though I'm not there, it is my pistol. If it's not in my hands, I still accept the responsibility of whatever happens with it. And I do that as a person with my firearms, but I do think it is wholeheartedly immoral and wrong for Washington State to say if a felon or anyone steals your firearm and commits a crime, it's a felony on you. That is an absolute wrong thing to do.
That's stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, nice to know Washington State hasn't changed since I left. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was stationed at Fort Lewis, man. I know how it goes. Yeah, it's a nightmare
up here, and I've lived here my whole life, but some things start starting to suck.
Yeah, that was one of the things that we acknowledged. My wife and I, we were in our first year of marriage when we were living up there, and that was one of the common themes. Is like, wow, this is such a beautiful state. It's a shame that so many of the people suck.
I've had people in the middle of a conversation with me, flat out in the middle, learn that I like guns or was prior military, and then do this.
Yeah.
And just stop.
Yeah. It's a shame. It really is. So let's see here. We do have some other questions. So going back to your bag designs, excuse me. So kind of walk us through the process. There's some curiosity with how you design your bags. Do you kind of hand draw them out? Are you using any type of computer program? Is it, you being interviewed by a designer that can conceptualize your thoughts? How's that work?
So, there's a million ways to do the process. I had my first prototype built. Like, I did all the pieces and the parts. I laid it out, and I took it to a close friend of mine that has a sewing machine. That's how that happened. And then I got in touch with someone who does this professionally for the tactical world, and he is like the dude to be doing these things. Fucking awesome. And he walked me through the process, and again, I learned I did good on how that all goes. And he knew it. Everything I brought up when I explained it to him, he's like, yeah, I know it. And then he did a sketch, sent it to me. I edited the sketch and did the measurements and sent it back to him. And that's how it went. And the bag design I had, it was in my head for years because it's something that I wanted for my own gun. And I was like, this would be awesome. Why should I wait? But, other things got in the way. And then I cut up my camis. Actually, it's made out of my old Marine Corps camis. They're over here all chopped up still. So my drill instructors would probably kill me for that one, but suck it. So I did that, and honestly, it's a nostalgia having a rear bag made out of my camis. So
just remember, if your drill instructors get in your DMs and start bitching at you, just cuddle up nice and tight at night with your DD-214. Stroke it lovingly.
Yeah. So that's what I did there. And then when he and I got on the phone, the maker of the bags, after I designed them, he put them out and he sent them to me, sent me some samples. The samples were great, and making a few edits to those and getting them over to him and producing them. And this next batch will be the one that goes on sale. So with all these kinds of things, like, there's an entire process and world out there that goes into making products that us normies or muggles just have no idea about, and learning it as fast and quick as I've had to do it is insane. But I wouldn't really have it any other way because I need to learn it. So
awesome, man. Well, you've taken a good thing and made it a better thing, right? Like, it was a shitty day, but imagine the other outcomes that were possible had you have not taken your actions.
Yeah.
And a couple of years from now, I hope we can have you back on here and talk about your successful bag / patch / training / wherever the hell you end up company, right?
Yeah.
And you can have done like 7 more videos with Grand Film, and
he's a good dude.
It'll all be good. You man, I'm just glad it worked out well for you. I'm very, very happy that the result was what it was. Do you have anything that, like, you've been interviewed? How many times have you been interviewed? Do you even know at this point?
No, I really wish I'd kept the duty logbook. I really do. I have no idea. My rough estimate is maybe 20 plus times now. And every one is a little different. Some of the annoying ones are like constant referrals. So, oh, you said in this podcast, It's like, well, guy, this is a new podcast.
Right, right.
Let's have a conversation.
Right.
But I mean, such as the process, some people have different methods. I really couldn't tell you how many times, but
so in all those times, is there a thing that you like? You've walked away from the conversation. You're like, God damn it! Why hasn't somebody asked me? Whatever, blank. Is there a thing that you wish you could have gotten an opportunity to talk about?
no one's ever asked me my favorite color.
All right, what the hell is your favorite color?
I like green, man. Thank you for asking.
You are very welcome.
That was really kind.
Is there any seriously though? Is there a thing that folks are missing about you or about this that you would want to have an opportunity to kind of get off your chest a little bit and talk about?
I mean, I'm sure there is, but this did come up in a thing with Ranger Up, which will be released within a few weeks. But I draw a very hard line between rioters and protesters. Absolutely. And one thing that pisses me off is that the rioters are succeeding in stealing the narrative. And with that is, how do you topple a country, right? You topple a country by erasing its history. Our history is largely right now being toppled by taking down statues, changing names, unlearning lessons that we have learned, condemning people for one wrong thing in their life when they've done a myriad of different things to help build our country. You erase its history, you erase its lessons, and you can no longer learn those lessons. And like, honestly, it is really sad. Like, even if you're not a gun person, you don't need to be a fucking gun person, right? At all. The nature of the sheepdog is to understand that the sheep, it is not in their nature to be a sheepdog, and that's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But it doesn't take much to bring down a country from the inside, and that's through division. People focusing on division and what is dividing us and what is hurting us breaks us. What's going to sit you and me down is a commonality. It is a unified objective. You guys want to talk to me. I want to talk to you because you seem like good dudes, and it gets my word out there, it gets my things out there, and it helps us both, right? That's the unity that sat us down. And we can sit here and we can talk about, hey, I think your hat's stupid. But hey, guess what? We got here because we're unified. I don't think your hat's stupid. It's okay. But it's something that sat us down to talk about a dividing problem that we can work on it. And if you and I get too heated, let's step back and let's remember why we're here.
I like that, man. That was very well informed and well thought out. I put you on the spot. He had no idea. He didn't know anything what we were going to ask him tonight, to be honest with you. So that's cool shit, man. So we're coming up on the time of the show when it's time for us all to give our plugs and give our final thoughts and final closings and all that stuff. Rughi, being the guest of honor, man, plug all your stuff, please.
Well, I already mentioned the GoFundMe, the patches, the shirts and hoodies and all that, and my bang bags that's coming up. So honestly, the one thing I really want people to stick out in their minds is on Instagram, and we have a website, Firewatch Official. That's all it is, Firewatch Official on Instagram. It is a place for military active duty veterans, law enforcement, first responders, and medical personnel. They can go on there at their fingertips, doing what they always do, and find a place of positivity to share those hard stories and give support to those who have shared theirs already. And it is a user content fed site where, yep, that's it right there. So you send in your story. A buddy of mine that's still active duty, he's running it far better than I ever could. And like, actually, we sat down here and we were playing around with it. And the first thing he replied back to it, I was like, dude, I'm not running this. You're doing it better than I am. Like, I could not give that response as well as you did. And he's been an ace in the hole for it. And honestly, it's helping him out too. Life is hard all around for a lot of people. That is the biggest thing that means probably the most to me because of the positivity that's there. Tonight's post was a Marine that's in a coma, and his family can't afford to go see him. So we posted up and put the link in there for the GoFundMe to fly the family out there. And, it's to me, it's a big endeavor. And honestly, it was created back in 2018. I just didn't know how to launch it or have any platform to launch it off of. So as soon as this all happened, I started building that. He started building that. He stepped in, and that's we're eventually going to turn it into a nonprofit organization to help those communities out. So go there, give a like, give a follow, send in your stories, and let's keep the positivity flowing. Because if 1/10 of the positivity that's come to my page hit that, it'd catch on like fire.
There we go. I was just, ladies and gentlemen, gather around and listen up. On July the 7th, Corporal Kyle Mowery was on his way home when an unaware driver pulled out in front of him. He survived, but he's in a coma. Due to COVID-19, his family is unable to visit him in the hospital despite pleading with hospital administration. A GoFundMe has been started to move this Marine from Arizona back home where he can be with his family. Yeah, there you go. That's something I can get behind.
That's Firewatch Official's mission, is to bring those situations to light. If you are up late at night, something's on your mind, something happened during that day that brought you back to a bad memory, a bad place, a smell triggered a moment, and you want to put it out there, it can be completely anonymous. That's one thing that I wanted to make sure to get in there, 100% anonymity if that's what you want, or if you want, people to be able to reach you, absolutely. But yeah, that's an important thing for me. And
it strikes me, TJ and I have been doing these like as a hobby before we started this for real. We've done 43 real episodes and probably 20 or 30 screw around, try to figure it out episodes before that. How many of these touching, amazing, charity-related, good people stories have we heard and have we been able to share just in our own little corner of this, dude? I mean,
oh God, you can't count them all.
It's for us being the supposed bad guys in the gun or military or law enforcement or whatever community. There's a lot of heart. So it's a humbling experience to get out and train with good people, to get out and learn from good people, to talk with. I mean, how many people can you only know a few things about the other person, but I can bring this dude on a podcast and we're going to be able to have a really squared away conversation. It's these kind of things. That's why we do this stuff. So there you go, at Firewatch Official. Go check that out as well, please. So in that vein, we have a few other things that this podcast likes to support. One of the people is in our chat right now, Miss Sarah Albrecht from holdmyguns.org. P.S. Rughi, you and Sarah really ought to talk. I can hook that up then for you.
Absolutely.
Hold My Guns is a suicide prevention charity in the firearms space, to try and help folks be able to take a break from lethal means if there's something going on in their lives. That's holdmyguns.org. I'm proud to be a board member, and I'm actually the treasurer of that organization. TJ and I have been supporting that from the very beginning. So check out Hold My Guns. Also check out Racheal's Rest. And it seems like there's all these charities or charitable situations that are always popping up. And because of Cam, thank you, Cam, TJ and I are doing push-ups for the 22 push-up challenge thing. Because I'm fat and he's less fat, but still a little pudgy, and we need to do some push-ups in our lives.
Yeah, brother.
We're doing that whole thing because way too many of y'all. TJ's my brother from another mother. I love y'all, dudes. I hate to see any of you, take your lives because of lack of resources or lack of somebody to talk to or lack of whatever it is that you need. So if we can get our ass in the grass a little bit and do some push-ups, I think that's probably the least we can do. You know where to find us, right? I'm at Green Mountain Defense. Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and all that. Green Mountain Defense is 223-322-0584. I am not shitting you. If you need something, call me. If you're, God forbid, if you're in that mental space, I'm nobody's expert, but I'll get you with Hold My Guns, or I'll do something. I'll find you. If nothing else, I'll just be in here. So please use that. I'm happy to be training good folks to be good folks who are still alive. I'm probably going to put that on a t-shirt at some point. ReedMountainDefense.com/trainings, where you can find all that stuff. I was really thrilled to just host Tim Heron shooting for 2 days that felt like 6 days, because Tim never stops teaching. Dude, seriously, went for like 12 hours each day, it seems like. We've got a busy rest of the calendar for the summer, and before you know it, the snow will be here. So ReedMountainDefense.com/training. God, if you are a new gun owner and you're sitting there because you're scared of all this nonsense, and you're sitting there going, what does this thing do? And you're just petrified, call me up, hit me up. We'll Zoom, we'll Facebook, we'll Insta Snap, Face Chat, Book, whatever the hell we have to do. We'll find a way, and we'll get you some training. So that's where you can find all that. And if you're not in the northeastern United States and you happen to be in the southeastern United States, you should probably hit my friends at Apache Solutions up, because they can train you good or learn you good or two with a pistol and a rifle. And Tim Kelly, the gentleman who runs that, is also a Marine. And if you miss, he will yell at you and say, "Never do that again." That is a catchphrase. But yeah, ApacheSolutions.com is where you find their training schedule. And TJ, you want to do the rest of our ad reads before I screw them up?
Yeah, man, I'll take it from here. So, Kent, as always, great show, brother. Love doing this with you. Shooter, so glad to have you on, man. This has been a fantastic episode, and I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk with us. As has been mentioned, I'm sure you've got all sorts of, inquiries and offers and people hitting you up to try to get you on their show, and you decided to come on ours, and we greatly appreciate you for that. And we're happy to support you in turn. So for those of you that are listening at home, or hell, even if you're catching this on YouTube after the fact, the links are going to be in the description. I'll include all of Shooter's stuff down there as well. Get on over there and support, a hardworking family man who is certainly one of the sheepdogs, as proven and tested in the flames of combat. He's a good dude. We're happy to help him out. So please do the same. Of course, we did mention medical equipment. We are proud to represent Dark Angel Medical and be partnered with them. Please use code BB15 at checkout. Be sure to put some notes in the comment section when you place your order that the Sling'N podcast sent you. We never get anything from that other than getting an opportunity to show Kerry that we love him. Of course, you should hit us up on Subscribestar. We do have content that we will be posting up there. Get some special curated behind the paywall type stuff. It's kind of like Patreon, but for people that like freedom.
Kind of like OnlyFans too, a little bit.
OnlyFans? I could see you on OnlyFans.
I'm just saying.
Dear God, help us all. Okay, so of course you can check us out on Facebook, Sling'N Podcast. We have additional content there. You can always post your questions and comments there as well. We'll be happy to bring them up here on the show. Or hell, maybe you just want to chat with us and pick our brains for some inside information. We'll be happy to educate you and pass on the knowledge that we have. You should also check out our affiliate links, which are pinned to the top of that page on Facebook. So we recently have an affiliation with Primary Arms. So please use the code or the links that are posted there and support the channel. Of course, we invite you to check out rightonoptics.com for all of your long-range and tactical shooting needs. They have variable power optics, 1 power red dots, binoculars, all sorts of quality glass from Right On, and we're happy to be members of their pro staff team. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends. You can find us right here live on YouTube or catch us recorded, pumping from your speakers on your favorite podcast player. Until then, when we see each other again, take care of each other. God bless you all. Get out and shoot.